Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all an update to my Cardfight Vanguard Dragonic Overlord deck profile for post-generation Dragenesis with the new release of Bellicosity Dragon. It definitely does help for the consistency of being able to set up the Dragonic Overlord in your soul of your Dragonic Overlord the End Vanguard to have the overall pressure of what this re-standing Vanguard deck is meant to do and not have to go into Dragonic Overlord. We've had other cards, but Bellicosity Dragon with the addition of the energy generator just helps for the additional energy blast power, being able to make use of another resource that is not a counterblast or a soul blast to use in the Dragonic Overlord deck. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the ride deck, we have the energy generator with our starter being Lizard Runner Undo. When wrote upon, if you want second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is Embodiment of Armor Bar. When wrote upon by Dragonite Nahal, you can counterblast 1, search your deck for up to one grade 1 card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. And on the rearguard circle, once per turn, when your Vanguard attacks hits, it gets +5 until end of turn, which is not really ever going to be on the rearguard circle since it's the only copy of Bar we run the deck. Same with Nahal. When it's wrote upon by a unit with Overlord and its card name, call it to rearguard, just giving you a free grade 2 option when you ride on your main grade 3 Vanguard. And on the rearguard, once per turn, if you have a Vanguard with Overlord and its card name, you can Soul Blast 1 in this unit, and all your Vanguards get +5 till end of turn. With our main go-to Vanguard for the deck being Dragonic Overlord the End. It's our go-to, so we don't have to have an additional ride step into Dragonic Overlord and then into this card. Just having the consistency for the restand with our Dragonic Overlord the End is why we're also running the 3 additional copies in the main deck as well. So we can also have the Persona ride power. During your turn, if your soul has Dragonic Overlord, this unit's drive cannot decrease from card effects, and it gets +5 power. And on the Vanguard circle, once per turn, at the end of the battle, this unit attack, you can counterblast 1, discard 2 cards from your hand, stand this unit, and it gets drive -1 to end of turn, but it won't get drive -1 if you have the Dragonic Overlord in your soul. So you're basically dealing with a 2 drive check twice Vanguard to swing at your opponent. So you're sifting through 4 drive checks in the deck off of this card alone. If you get the over trigger, it's all the better because then you have the 6 drive check cost of this card being restood once again thanks to it. Along with the Dragonic Overlord the End, we're running 4 copies of the original Dragonic Overlord as well, just so we have the consistency to have this card in our hand to put into soul with some of our other grade 2 options in the deck. On the Vanguard and Rearguard circle, during the battle, this unit attacked a Rearguard. Your opponent cannot call cards from their hand to the guard circle. So even on the Rearguard circle, being able to swing at an opponent's Rearguard and not have them guard it is great for just disrupting some of your opponent's Rearguard plays. We never use the Vanguard skill, which would be the restanding power, because once again, we go into the Dragonic Overlord the End and never have to worry about Overlord on the Vanguard circle. For the grade 2s, we're running 4 copies of Burning Horn Dragon. When this unit's placed on rearguard, counterblast 1, look at the top 7 cards from your deck, reveal up to 1 card with Overlord and its card name, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. If you did not reveal a card, countercharge 1. So at least you're making up for the potential investment that you want to do for the counterblast with this card, and giving you more of a search option to either go for your Dragonic Overlord or your Dragonic Overlord the End for your Persona ride in the following turn. And on the rearguard, when your Vanguard with Overlord and its card name attacks, it gets +5 till end of turn, meaning you can hit a potential +10k power off of just the 2 swings from your Vanguard alone, thanks to your Burning Horn Dragon and that added setup that it can provide. We're also running the 4 copies of Ardor Hatchet Dragon. If your soul has a card with Overlord and its card name, this unit gets shield +5, meaning a pretty good special intercept. And on the rearguard circle, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, retire this unit, choose a grade 3 card with Overlord and its card name from your drop, and put it into the soul. So if you have to discard Dragonic Overlord for a ride deck cost or anything like that, you can at least put it back into the soul by retiring your Ardor Hatchet Dragon. But one of the better ways, I would say, and we'd definitely be running 4 copies of this card in the deck, so you could drop either the Ardor Hatchet Dragon down to a 3 of count, would be the Bellicosity Dragon. I've got 3 copies currently in the deck, but once again, you could drop either that or the next card we're running in the deck for a 4th copy of this card. If you have a Vanguard with only 1 clan and your G-Zone has no cards, this card gets all the following. When this unit's placed on rearguard, Energy Blast 3, put a card from your hand to the soul, and draw 2 cards. So not only can you set up your Dragonic Overlord in the soul with this card, it also gives you a draw 2, unlike your Ardor Hatchet Dragon, which you retire a unit to get the same resource from the drop. At least you're actually fulfilling what you need to do with this card, and also get the additional cards from your hand back into it with the draw 2. And on rearguard, power when your Vanguard attacks. This unit gets +5 power until end of turn. So just when it attacks again, it can have the same option as your Burning Horn Dragon, getting the additional power each time your Vanguard attacks. So very, very useful for the added power boost as well. With the last of the grade 2s, this is a personal tech of mine that I like just with how counterblast heavy this deck can be, and that is Steel Bullet of Duststorm Ethan. When your Vanguard attack hits, retire this unit, draw a card, and countercharge 1. So this helps just for the added play of if your Vanguard attack hits, you can at least retire Ethan as a resource to then make use of against your opponent for you to be able to use for the retire option, drawing a card and countercharge 1. It'll make up for the Ethan, so you can always swing with Ethan first, go for the Dragonic Overlord attack, which you'll have the 2 to rely on. So if the first attack at least hits, you can retire Ethan for that additional countercharge that you may need for your opponent's Vanguard to be able to restand against it with. For the grade 1s, now one of the more pricier cards in the deck, and always has been, is Dragritter Halb. Now for this card, if you don't have it because it is a $30 card currently, you could always replace it with Multiple Strokes Dragon or have it be more of a placeholder for this card as well. With this card, if your opponent's drop has 5 more cards, it gets +5 power and shield, making it a good 10k guard in your hand or a 13k booster or attacker on its own on the rearguard circle, with Dragritter Halb being able to, when it will be discarded from hand for the cost of your ability of your Vanguard with Overlord, it may be regarded as discarding 2 cards. And when this card is discarded from hand for the cost of an ability with the Vanguard with Overlord in its card name, you may call this card to the back row rearguard. If you call this card, it gets +5 till end of turn. So not only are you setting up a resource in the rearguard, counting as 2 of the discard for Dragonic Overlord, it's just a good setup to provide for the deck. One of the better cards to search off of Armor Bar, if you wish as well, if you already have the Sentinels in hand that you want to not go for that search. And once again, if you have more of the copies, just replace the Multiple Strokes Dragon that we run in the deck for more copies of this card. And then also for the grade 1s, I run 1 copy of Red Jeweled Beast Galnet and the 1 copy of Dragon Monk Gojo. When the Vanguard attack hits, that this unit boosts, hits, retire this unit, and countercharge 1. So you have another countercharge option with Gojo. And Red Jeweled Beast Galnet, when it's placed on rearguard upon the guard circle, put a total of 2 cards from your soul or drop that were in the ride deck into the ride deck face up and perform either the following according to the circle it's on. Rearguard, draw a card, or guard circle gets +15. So you can use this card with cards like your Naham, Bar, or Undo, since they're mostly going to be soul blasted or just in the soul, unneeded for any of the additional card effects. And then the rest of the grade 1s being the 1 copy of Elementaria Sanctitude and the 3 copies of Twin Buckler Dragon, just for the standard Sentinel lineup for these type of decks. For the orders we run on the deck, I'm running 2 copies of Defensive or Defensing Roar. Choose one of your Guardians without Sentinel. This unit gets the ability of when it's retired from guard circle, put it into the hand, and shield +10. So not only do you have a recycle option for, let's say, one of your triggers that you are guarding with, giving the additional +10 as well for this Blitz order. Very good when you go on the defensive with this deck. And then the last of the orders just being 1 Gradius Cordell. You really do need that +10 pressure with your Vanguard, so having this on top of your 3 Dragonic Overlords of the end just helps all around. With our trigger lineup being the 7 critical for the added restand pressure, just running as many criticals as we can for this final spot, and the draws being 4 copies of Flare Veil Dragon for the additional 5k shield and just more hand consistency with the draw triggers, and the heals being the 4 copies of Parasalis, just going with the generic 15k to always have a consistency for the attacks we're going up against with our opponent, and lastly the 1 copy of Dragon Deity King Dragveda for the restand power that you can get with Dragonic Overlord at the end on top of our own restand power of the Vanguard. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. I always love Dragonic Overlord. It's definitely one of my favorites. Definitely do need to get the rest of the Halbs for the deck, but it's just such a pricey card, even after being reprinted twice, I believe. Still finding it pricey to acquire for the deck, but nonetheless, still playable for the all-around resource that we have thanks to Bellicosity with its energy generator skills in the deck as well. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.